Now I'm inviting Mr. Rajkumar Keshwani, the man who experienced, the first man to experience the gas leak. Rajkumar Keshwani to please come and say his, whatever he wants to say, I think in 5 minutes.
Honorable Chair and friends, how my city Bhopal has been tagged with death and disease. We, the half of the city population, are identified as victims or survivors of the Bhopal gas tragedy. What have we done to earn such painfully unpleasant sobriquets? The answer to my mind is that we are paying for our inability to fight against the injustice. The injustice in our everyday lives, which we just ignore to attain our wrongly placed individual priorities. I am not propounding any new theory by making a statement like this. In fact, I am trying to create a space for myself to narrate my story of Bhopal, where I tried very hard to prevent the disaster from happening, but failed. I failed because the people whose lives were at the stake could not appreciate my warnings about an impending disaster. They thought it was impossible because it has never happened before anywhere in the world. While those who had a better understanding of this issue and what I was saying were the people who were actually the beneficiaries of the carbide largesse. It included the government officials and their political masters in the state. I, being a journalist, started my investigations in Union Carbide in December 1981, when one of my friends working at that plant, Muhammad Ashraf, died in result of a phosgene exposure. After a thorough research of 9 months, I was in a position to say that the safety was being compromised in the Union Carbide plant just to save some money, and that certainly is going to kill someday the entire population of the Bhopal city. On September 17, 1982, I published my first story, Bachaiye Huzur, is Shehar Ko Bachaiye. Another one on 1st October 1982, Jwalamukhi Ke Muhane Par Baitha Bhopal. 4 days later, after this story, on October 5th, there was a minor MIC gas leak from the plant. Some residents in the nearby colonies had to actually run away from their houses for a while. But even that did not bring in a realization. I shouted at the top of my voice with a heading, "Na samjhoge to aakhir mit hi jaoge." But nobody was willing to understand, especially the state government. I persuaded some of the local assembly members to raise this issue in the state assembly. The minister in charge then made a statement on the floor of the house which denied any such threat from the plant. He issued rather a certificate to Carbide on safety by saying that they have a great safety arrangement. In desperation, I wrote a few letters, first to the Chief Minister and then to the Chief Justice, Supreme Court of India. But unfortunately, this too did not work. They never responded to my request to intervene and save the people of Bhopal. And finally came the apocalyptic night of December 2nd in 1984. This was the beginning of a series of events which the history, I am sure, would describe as the story of great injustice in Bhopal. Gas leaked out and there was no one to save them from the curse. Those who could reach hospitals found the doctors without any clue as to how to treat them. even after 25 years, no one has an exact idea how to go about that. They wanted the perpetrators of the crime to be punished. The rulers provided a safe passage back home in US to the main accused, Warren Anderson. People wanted to sue the guilty, and the government took away their rights to sue the Calvite. In 1989, government allowed the Calvite to get away just like that with a shameful settlement of just $470 million and acquitting the killers of Bhopal for the criminal liability. When the people's efforts could revive the criminal case, a judge diluted the charges to make it look like another case of a road accident. And then the final assault, June 7, 2010. The day of the judgment, 2 years of imprisonment for the death of 25,000 people and a fine of Rs 5 lakh for each accused. That makes an imprisonment of just 35 minutes for each death caused and 1 rupee for each injury caused. That was the judgment without justice. And I would conclude quoting Martin Luther King Jr., injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you.
Now I'm inviting Sunita Narayan, as I told you, the dynamic woman of this country, who is a face internationally. I was told that she's a very difficult woman to contact and she may not agree to come, but she was very kind when I said that Vivek Tankha is the president and Mr. Kamal Nath is the chief guest. Sunita agreed, sir. Thank you, Sunita. Please come.
Thank you, Harish ji, and thank you for asking me. I think this is very important that the Madhya Pradesh Foundation has taken this up. I think I must put on record that this is an issue that the people of Madhya Pradesh must make their own. And I do believe that in the last 25 years, one of the disconnect that has happened in Bhopal is that too many of us have believed that this is not our problem, that this does not concern us. And when I went to Bhopal on the 2nd of December last year, my appeal to the people of Bhopal was that don't allow the world to forget this shame of Bhopal. Don't think that we can write it off. And I'm very, very glad today that the Madhya Pradesh Foundation, with its extraordinary reach into the Madhya Pradesh society, has decided to make this an issue and has decided to say this is your issue and you will tell the world how it can be dealt with. Rajkumar ji has just given us, I think, a very chilling account of what happened that night. I will not repeat what has happened in the last 25 years. I want to start this story to say that we understand that Bhopal is a national and a collective shame. But the question that we have today, where do we go from here? And I believe this is really where we need to absolutely concentrate our energies in. Because if we don't do so, then let's be very clear. What is the kind of actions that have happened by very honorable people? When I think back on the 25 years and I think of the people involved, many of the people who have taken decisions are actually very honorable people. But those decisions were taken. Things did go wrong and they continue to go wrong. So we have to make sure that from now we will fix it. And I think that has to be the focus. To me, there are 4 or 5 issues, and I will speak on 2 particularly, but I want to flag all issues because I think it's important for us as a nation and as a society to realize that there are very serious issues for us to take ahead. The first issue clearly is one of compensation. The activists in Bhopal have made it very clear that they are not happy with the GOM recommendations on the compensation because it is, as this symposium says, too little, too late. It is also too little because very few people who are really affected by the Bhopal gas disaster are going to get the compensation.